Drink beer, it's good for you. I'm empty-handed and I'm feeling blue, and I'm gonna drink till the day that I die.
Hello and welcome to the video. With summer well and truly in full swing, I thought it was time for another summer beer. So welcome to my juicy IPA. This is a recipe that I started developing some years back, and it's proved very popular with people. I've finished making tweaks now and it's time to share. Let's have a quick look at the recipe then. So you'll notice straight away that this has a boil time of just 30 minutes. It's all that's needed actually, considering this beer's profile. You'll see that I'm using pale ale malt, flaked wheat and also flaked oats. This gives a very nice profile. You'll see there's a very small addition for the bittering hop at 30 minutes, and then the hops just gain and gain in quantity as the brew goes on. We've also got a large amount of dry hopping also here. Put this all together and what do you get? That's right, a juicy IPA. Okay, so it's now time to dough in, and have a quick look at my grain crush here. I'm not going to bang on about this as much as last video, but this is a vital component of the brew. Have a look. This is what you're looking for. It's vital to add your grain to your strike water gradually, in the fashion that I'm doing here, and gradually stir it up. And this is definitely a process that is never to be rushed. We want to make sure that there are no clumps of grain and that every grain is wet. As you progressively add the grain, of course you're going to get more resistance. It's important to keep the momentum up, and you will find yourself needing to put more effort in the more grain you have. Moving forward now, I've actually added all of my grain, and you can see that I'm not just stirring now, I'm actually breaking up the grain in this fashion also. And these points are very important. By the time you have all of the grain in, you're going to want to start stirring from the bottom, the middle and the top, and doing these break-up movements like you can see here, and turning your mash paddle around and just making sure that everything is 100%. If you fail in this part, the rest of your brew will be totally affected no matter what you do from this point onwards. So it's very important to make sure this is right. One thing I note in this particular brew is that we don't quite have the consistency that I would like. This mash is just a little bit too liquid for my liking. But no matter, there is a workaround, and it's just a case of putting that mash plate just a little bit deeper than you were used to seeing it, and that will make sure that we keep our efficiency and all goes well. So as usual, I've put the grain plate on top of the grain and then given it a small lift. It's just a little bit deeper than usual because this is just a little bit too much liquid in our mash, but never mind, we get round it. And of course you'll see that I've added my handy sink strainer there just to filter out some of the grain, and that will be particularly useful in this actual mash. While the mash is doing its thing, it gives us a chance to organise our boil additions, and I like to put them in boil order and get everything labelled up so there can be no mistakes. So I'm on mash out now, and you can see that we've got a pretty clear wort, especially when you consider the amount of oats and wheat that's actually in this brew. In terms of my mash in temperature for this one, I've gone middle of the rows, but like I described in my honey beer video, you can certainly change this to your liking. So for example, if you go on the early temperatures, so we're talking here between 60 to 62 degrees Celsius, then that will give a light-bodied, highly fermentable wort, which will then end in a drier finish. On the other end of the scale, if you go up towards 68 degrees C to 70, then you're going to get a sweeter beer with a heavier body. One thing I'd always recommend in beer brewing is experiment, experiment, experiment. You never know, you might prefer it a totally different way to the way you've been doing it all those years. Just try it and see. Moving quickly on now, it's time to get our sparge on. And the important thing here is to sparge slowly and evenly. And don't let that water level go too far up. You'll notice that I'm using a 1 litre jug for my sparging. Never add more than 1 litre at a time, and this will see you good. Once you've given the water time to go almost to the end, then you can carry on and add your next litre. Okay, so I've now hit 99 degrees C, which is actually where I live, my boil point. First thing to do then is actually to clear this protein on top just by giving it a good stir in. Once this has been done, then I'll actually start the boil timer. Only 30 minutes in this one too. At this point I'm also going to give the bottom a bit of a scrape too. So with that now done, I'm now going to add the minuscule bittering hop addition for this one. There it is. Blink and you miss it. And now I'm going to give that a quick stir in. It's not much hops, so this shouldn't take long at all. On account of the fact that we have some wheat and some oats in this one, this effectively is a higher protein grist. It's not anything serious, but even so, I'm going to protect the bottom by giving it a scrape a little bit more often during this brew, even though it's just a 30-minute boil, better safe than sorry. Here's my 15-minute addition, and you can see that I've added in the yeast nutrient and the Irish moss actually to the hops, just so that I can pitch it all at once. So that's all in now, and this is where it starts to get a little bit different. Because we've got a lot more hops going into this particular brew, I'm actually doing almost whirlpools when I'm actually adding the additions. The reason I'm doing this is I want to make use of all of those hop oils. My method for doing this is to carry on doing it until I see 1 degree C drop. I then stop. At 10 minutes what I did was I actually paused the timer and I started to run boiling hot water through my counterflow chiller to sterilise it. We will of course be doing a whirlpool at the end of this brew. Once this was finished, my water temperature was down by 2 degrees C. So what I did was I waited until it got back up to boiling point before I resumed the timer. Moving forward again, it's now 0 minutes and it's time to do our whirlpool. I would highly recommend that you use brewer's gloves while doing this. It's not very nice to burn your hands. So here's our largest hop addition right at the 0 minute point. It's time to now add these and start the whirlpooling. What I do is I use the edge of the actual brewing system to form the path for my whirlpool. I start off slowly and I then start to gradually build up speed. Do this for about 5 minutes and then let it settle for another 5 minutes and you're good to go. It's very unlikely that you'll run into any problems with your pump after you've done a successful whirlpool, but if you do, then here's a method that will really help you. Just get your bicycle pump, put it to the water out pipe and start blowing into the actual brew. What this will do is this will remove hops from the filter and you're good to go again. So it's now time to start the chilling phase. Have you noticed something different already? Say hello to my new friend. It's a Grainfather conical fermenter. I've got to tell you, I'm as pleased as anything with this one. Now, I know you're all waiting for a review of this, and trust me, one will be coming extremely soon. What I'm doing for this brew is I'm actually using fake yeast, so that I can have all of the processes done quickly and I can get a video together very fast. So here's my Kvake starter, and I'm using Ebergarden for this one because it sits very well in high IBU hoppy beers. The thing with this Kvake is that you need to pitch and ferment at 30 degrees C. So this takes a little bit of juggling when it comes to the chilling phase to make sure that you don't go too far off target. And I found the new conical fermenter with its large temperatures display to be very handy for doing this. So in goes my Kvake, and all is looking good. I've actually got a bit more than I actually planned for here, and that has actually affected the final gravity of this. But never mind, it's not far off, and I don't mind dropping a couple of points for having a bit more beer. As you can see here, the conical fermenter works very nicely with the tilt hydrometer, and that's certainly great news. So everything's now transferred, and you can see the bottom of my Grainfather is definitely showing the signs of a very hoppy beer brew that's taken place. So we're all set up and ready to go now, and I've added some extra hosing to the yeast dump exit, and I'm really looking forward to getting rid of those dead cells to clean up my beer. What is very nice to see that is I already have a fermentation going on. You gotta love Kvake yeast. What's going to be very interesting is how different the result will be in a better temperature controlled environment that I will have within this new Grainfather conical fermenter. The other thing that I've added is actually some 12mm hose and a bottling wand here, and of course I'm going to use this for bottling, so watch out for my review of this product. I will be going into all of the different features as I'm able to film them during the fermentation of this beer here. So there you have it, the end of another brew day and the end of another brew day video. I do hope you've all found this both useful and interesting, and I look forward to getting this review video out to you very soon. So if you did like this video, then please do go ahead and like it on YouTube. This really helps me out and allows the videos to be seen by a wider audience on YouTube. I've got a lot of videos in the pipeline for the future, so if you're interested in seeing what I've got coming up, then please subscribe for future content. If you have any questions on anything that I've covered in this video or in others, or anything to do with brewing in general, then please do not hesitate to get in touch. I'm more than happy to help. Until then, happy brewing!